Hello, everyone. It's Mary Alice here, and it's still before sunrise. That's why you can see the moon right here, helping to illuminate me. And eventually, the sun will rise and light will be had here in Ohio, which is where I am. Really lovely to see you. I saw some names I recognized entering the room, including one brand new Flow Game host. So, welcome to all of you who've decided to join us for this session. Can I see a show of hands? Who's joined one of the sessions in the facilitation week already? Anybody? If you've done that, please raise your hand. Let's see that. Looks like we are kind of, Shalak has been in many of the sessions. Good, some people have been. If not, welcome to Facilitation Week. This is an opportunity for those of us who host group process to dig more deeply into some of the skills, some of the mindset, some of the surroundings of what it takes to be a facilitator. And we would say from the art of hosting, a good host. And that's something that's really needed in times like this. We're in very challenging times, as all of you know. So it's interesting to go back to basics. The art of powerful questions is one of the foundations of being a good process person. What is the question that matters to us that we want to put in the center of our work together? So you might call questions a mother skill. One of the other mother skills in facilitation is circle. Circle is actually the basis of all other facilitation modes if you want to work in a participatory manner. So it's really interesting to go in these times where it feels like it's getting incredibly complicated and complex, and maybe you don't know what's going to happen next. Can we stand on our foundation? So one of those foundations is who I've decided to be, knowing that self is instrument. However you have done your own inner practice will make a dramatic difference on how people experience the work you're doing together, because the more you work on your own consciousness and your own ground, the higher other people can also work because you start from a different place. And then there's working on the skills so that they become not only a skill, but an art. Sometimes we talk about the whole line between mastery, artistry, mystery. So you got to get really good at something before you can get masterful at something, before you can get artistic with it. That's when the great painters or the great artists of all time have run outside of the rules, because they already understood how it worked. And when you can do that, then you open the space for the mystery to show up. As Finn Volthofte, who was one of the co-founders of World Cafe, called it, the magic in the middle. So today we're going to really look at, I think that, the two most powerful questions in the world, probably right at the moment for all of us, are, who am I now in the face of this, whatever this is? This might be whatever any government has decided to do. You can look at me right now. I'm sorry about that. Whatever is happening in your life, a medical diagnosis, your work falling apart, whatever it is, who am I now in the face of this? And out of that, the question, so what is mine to do right now? These are two really powerful ground questions I want to leave you with. But I want to invite you today to find your own question that really matters to you and have a bit of a play with it. So we're going to talk about what makes questions powerful, how you work with them. And then we're going to invite you to take on board a card out of the Flow Game and question your question a bit. And we've figured out an amazing way to do that, since there are currently 95 of us in the room. Oh, so we kind of sat this morning and went, wow, it's a bigger group than we expected. And I think in total, what is it, 230 people signed up for this. Who knows whether they're going to show up. So we'd like to check in right at the moment. And Shalaka is going to put the check-in question in the chat window. It's this one. Where do your feet touch the ground? And you could take that either literally or metaphorically. And what inspired you to join this session about the power of questions? So would you please check in the chat window with who are you? Where do your feet touch the ground? And why did you decide to join this session? All right, so those are, somebody asked would I put the questions in the chat window. I've done that. And let's put the calling question or the check-in question in the chat as well, in case we missed that.
We have crossed the century now, so we are more than 100 people.
Thank you. So if you just arrived, please check in. Where do your feet touch the ground, and what inspired you to join the session about powerful questions? So people are saying always learning, wanting the foundation, joined out of curiosity. That's always a good reason. I love the flow game. Thank you, Daniel. Refresh my mind and agility after a foggy January. Anyone else had a foggy January? Interested in questioning the question? Thank you. Somebody's in their car traveling in the busy streets of Bangalore, off camera. Thank you. Please keep your eye on the road, or have somebody do that. Thank you very much. So we're here from a lot of different places and for a lot of different reasons. You might want to have a look in the chat window and see who else and why else have they joined. I invite our flow game host to just have a look there and maybe give us some threads. So asking about that, I'd love to hear just a few, maybe two voices to just say what inspired you to join this session so we can get a sense of who else is in the room. If you want to tell us why you decided to join the session, would you please raise your hand so Shalaka can call on you?
Okay, I don't see any. Oh, Nancy.
Nancy.
Yes, hello everyone. I am in Kerala, India. I'm on an Ayurvedic cure. This is only day 4 of the cure. It's amazing. And I am here because I am always fascinated and just intrigued by how the powerful question finds us. I hosted a flow game last night among my fellow patients in this cure, and the powerful questions found the 3 people that were in this game, and it was just amazing. It was a beautiful game. And with that, peace back in the center.
Jerry?
Hello, everyone. I'm in Lille, in France. And as someone who studied anthropology and had the luck to meet art of hosting, I think questions have always been what opens my world in building connections, challenge myself and others as well. And would love to explore more aspects and arts of questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there one other person who would be willing to share with us why they joined this session? Jared, are you waving?
Yes, hello, Mary Alice. Jeroen here. Good to see you. Do you remember the powerful question you asked every day when we had our book week back in, which year was that, 2018, here in Holland?
Oh, please remind me.
What have you learned about yourself today? It was, to be short, we had you helped us hosting the book writers event, a global event, and the task for everybody was writing his or her chapter. And you were such a beautiful host, asking those powerful questions. I'll never forget that. So that intrigued me to join today.
Thank you so much. Too long no see, so good to see you here.
Yeah. Same here.
For whatever reason, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope a powerful question finds you, because it's probably out there just waiting to pounce on you right now. So let's talk a bit more about questions. I want to share my screen. Can I do that actually, Shalaka? Isn't open for that if I do?
Yes, you are a co-host, so.
I can do that. So, here's an interesting thing. And this is about what question could change your life, really, if you really boil it down. Oh, that's interesting. So this is now not letting me, it's not letting me go forward, and it's not letting me escape. So, Shalaka, can you just stop the share for a moment?
Okay.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I can't. There's the cursor. Thank you so much. We will see what we do now. Let's see if we can make this happen in a good way. And if not, we're going to have the benefit of technology. So fun. Okay, can you see this? And can you see me? Yay.
Yes.
Alrighty. So, a question might seem like a really small thing, but it's the one thing that can make a really big difference. I don't know about you, but I've noticed most of the times when I've either gotten into conflict or I have a challenge in a hosting team that I'm with, and I'm the kind of person when I'm doing art of hosting trainings around the world, I was going to say mostly, no, all the time I'm in a new group. I'm never in the same team twice, which means that we always need to find our way together, and we all have different aspects of quality and experience. And so there's something about trying to find the harmony in that can be challenging. And I notice in the moments when it doesn't feel like it's working, it's usually because I've made an assumption rather than asking a question. I don't know if this feels relevant to you, but I've also noticed that in my personal life, when I could have asked a question, it would have been better. No, and this is not working again. So I don't know what to do about it. Should like to just, yeah, yeah, it's not, I don't know why this is not.
Do you want to share the presentation on WhatsApp and I can share my screen?
Let's see if okay, that worked. Let me see if I can continue to get it to work. I'll tell you if it
great.
stops in the moment. I love this quote. A paradigm shift occurs when a question is asked inside the current paradigm that can only be answered from outside of it. This goes back to the famous quote from Albert Einstein of you can't solve a problem at the same level of consciousness that you created the problem. It's got to come from a different place. So maybe not. It worked, but it's now not working. Okay. Let's kill the slideshow, and it will take me too much time to do so stop the share again. It's about Shalaka. Am I still there? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. We're going to rely on what we know how to do, which is storytelling. Yes. So, there are questions that have changed the world in the past, and here's one. What if the Earth were not the center of the universe? That was something Copernicus asked in 1512 and changed the fundamental view of what the world was about. So you remember those old maps that used to have the assumption that the world was flat, and if you went too far, you might fall off the edge. We're having that same kind of feeling these days, but it's an interesting question about what is the center of what we're doing. And here's another one that's changed the world that we know. How can I keep the page markers from dropping out of my hymnal? Art Fry, who was a scientist at 3M in Minnesota, which has now come into the news again, liked to sing in the choir at his church, and every time he put little page markers in, they would fall out of the hymnal. So he used glue that most people thought was a failure because it didn't stick totally, and he invented the Post-it note. That has fundamentally changed the way that every facilitator works around the world. So, questions can change the world and can change what we are looking at and how we do it. So why is a question really important? Well, first of all, the brain loves a compelling question. If you can find a question that's really compelling to you, your brain will not stop looking for the answer. And that is actually a really, really cool thing. So if you can find a compelling question for yourself today, one thing I want to invite you to do is put it on a big Post-it note, put it on a big piece of paper, and put it up in your space so that it continues to work on you and do its magic as a question. We have today too many throwaway questions, transactional questions, because often these days we are using questions to find the expedient answer. How do I get to the next place? Who else is involved in this meeting? How much does it cost? Those are all transactional questions. But a transformational question, one which is really geared to having us move out of the current paradigm, is one way to help our brains find new answers and new territory to make creativity. So a question really should stimulate creativity and fresh thinking. It surfaces underlying assumptions. It focuses your attention and your energy, and it opens the doorway to change. So it should lead us into the future. And the most interesting thing about a question is, it is an intervention in any system right off the bat. The moment you ask a question, you've made an intervention into the system. So one of the founders of Art of Hosting, Toko Möller, was once asked, what's the simplest way to host anything? He said, well, you need a powerful question. And then he stopped for a moment and said, oh, and maybe you need a talking piece. This is the most basic way to facilitate or to host anything, is to have a powerful question and to listen well to each other in whatever way you do that. That's the simplest form of how human beings have always met. And you know, as human beings, we always meet in circles around emergencies, whether it is around the fire in older times or with a cup of coffee in hand going, what do we do now? This is the way we've always met. So this is an interesting thing to consider. How do I become really good at asking questions? Because they are the basis of the work that we do. And a great question can make a big difference in the group that you're meeting with. And I remember hearing a story from a appreciative inquiry practitioner, Diana Whitney, who is one of the kind of founding team around appreciative inquiry, who said she once had an engagement with two towns that were divided by a river and had been in conflict with each other for a long time. And she asked them a question that surprised them the most. She said, what is it you love about the river that joins you together? Interesting way of the question going right underneath the conflict. Yep, you have a question? Yeah, is our first question just arrived? Yep, you have your hand up. You want to say something? You want to say something or not? No, okay. There was maybe a question inside you hiding out. We want to look for, where is the question that really matters for you? So now that we know, okay, questions are important. They're the keystone of the work that we do as facilitators and as hosts. So how do you find a question that really matters? One of the places to look might be in the overlap of what Toka calls the three balls of life: learning, earning, and contributing. So if you draw three overlapping circles and label them learning, earning, and contributing, where are you mostly placed? Are you the person who's really chasing after the earning right at this moment, but you've forgotten something about contributing? Or are you the person who's contributing so much that you're not earning anything or learning anything? I will raise my hand because that's often been me. You know, I want to contribute so much that I forget about, hey, something needs to come in and support me. Sarah is raising her thumb. We know each other, so we could smile about this. We have talked about this in hotel rooms late at night. And, or maybe you're so focused on learning that you feel like, I have to go to another workshop. I have to go to another workshop. I never know enough in order to be the person who's presenting something. So learning, earning, and contributing, between those three is a sweet spot. Where is the balance that you are earning what you are, that you're valued for the work that you do and you're earning something, that you are learning something while you're doing the work, so that you continue to grow and mature as a facilitator, because we need more mature people, people who can hold their ground in every room where folks are meeting. And where is it that you're contributing? Where are you giving back from what you've received to whatever you care most about? You know, the challenge these days is that whoever is good at what they're doing is going to be asked to do more and more. Anybody feel like everybody's asking me to do more and more? Raising your hand. So one of the most powerful things you can learn how to do at this moment is to decide what is mine to do and to say no to things that are not yours to do. Most of us get worried if we say no, then we're closing the door. But in actual fact, when you close that door, you open another door. Your no is a yes to something else. So learning, earning, contributing, and the sweet spot in between it, is your question there? Maybe it is. Think about that. Another place I want to invite you to look for a question is inside of the fourfold practice. So I'm going to, listen, I'm going to try sharing my screen again, because I really want to show you the fourfold practice, and I'm not going to push play because I think that's probably the issue. Can you see this slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the fourfold practice, which is the practice pattern underneath the art of hosting. And maybe your question is inside the fourfold practice. I want to start at the one that's at the very bottom of the screen. It's called Host Yourself. These are what we feel are the 4 practice fields that anyone who's working with others needs to be aware of and tend to in order to be a really strong and balanced practitioner. This is a holon, meaning that every part of this diagram picks up and takes higher the part that came before it. So host yourself, which is at the very bottom of the diagram, is really about what do you do to keep yourself present and able to be curious no matter what happens. So we stop being helpful. I mean, sometimes it's not a good idea to be helpful because people might say to us, hey, your help is a bit painful. Stop trying to help me. But we could try to be really useful. And we stop being useful if we get triggered by whatever's gone on in the room. The only way you can avoid this is to do your own inner work so that you have your own ground, regardless of what situation is facing you. So the question here is, what's my practice? Some people meditate, some people run, some people pet the dog, some people say sleep is my practice. What is your practice so that you remain flexible and curious? Because then it's like standing in the middle of the room, able to move anywhere instead of being stuck in the corner because something that just happened triggered you and you can no longer be present. So how do you host yourself? This is one reason the art of hosting always works with other hosts. We say never host alone because you have more capacity when you have more people who have good ground together. One of you can say, hey, this has just triggered me. I need to host myself, and the other one can step up. So how do you host yourself? The second component here on the right-hand side is called Be Hosted, and that's about participating and practicing conversations. So many of us are in the front of the room or around the conversation or behind it or wherever, but we're not ever in it. So how can you really get new information, learn what people really care about by being in a conversation and participate in a way that helps to demonstrate to other people what good participation looks like? So because you know how to host yourself, you know who you are, you don't need to speak first. You can say, hey, what do you think? Or I haven't heard from you, or we'd love your contribution, and you can really mean it. You can host from the chair. So the question here is, where am I in? Are there places inside of your work where you actually need to become a beginner again instead of a master of what you're doing? How do you kind of keep beginner's mind and fierce practice dancing together? This is one of the ways to do it. At the top of this is the third practice pattern. It's called Host Others. So this is where you are hosting and harvesting conversations that really matter. So that means the question is, what is mine to do? What is it that has your name on it that you are uniquely interested in, where you say, I don't care if no one else shows up. I'm going to keep putting the chairs out until other people do, until they trust me enough to be in this conversation. So where is the conversation that you really want to host? Not the one you're hired to do, but the one that calls your heart and your spirit most, because that needs to keep alive in really challenging times like this. What's yours to do? And the fourth pattern is called be part of a hosting community. So that is, where is your community of practice? There are so many facilitators out there I've experienced who feel very alone. They're always doing their work alone. They're always thinking alone. Where are your practice partners? So the question here is, where is my practice community and who are my mates? So who are those people you really want to learn with because they're better than you? And where can you find them? And how do you invite them to be present in your work, even if they can't be in the room with you? Who's at your back is the question right now, because we all need support to keep our back strong. As the Buddhists would say, strong back, soft front. The more support I can have, the more vulnerable I can be, the more open I can be. So these are the four patterns. And by the way, on this last one, it's not easy to be part of a practice community, because if you're part of a good practice community, they will call you on it when you're not performing at your best. That isn't always fun. I say I love learning, but not necessarily in the moment when it happened. So what is it you need to do? So maybe your question is here in the fourfold practice. That might be a place where a question is arriving to you. So let me say something quickly about questions and how they work. So first of all, we talked a little bit about transactional versus transformational. So can you create a transformational question for yourself? We call this the question that makes you tremble, the one that makes your heart leap up because you're excited and your stomach fall down because you're scared. That is a really good question, because that's the one that has you on the edge. So what is it right now that most matters to you? And let's talk a little bit about how that looks. There are some elements of crafting a good question. There's three of them. Here they are: assumption, construction, and scope. These are the three things you need to bear in mind when you think about how to make a question. So I want to cover those briefly. We could talk about this for a long time and tell a bunch of stories, but I want to actually go through this quickly to give you time enough to craft something. So let's look at scope first. That's the green question mark. Who is this question really about? Is it about the world? Is it about the organization or the client you're part of? Is it about your team? Is it about you? Sometimes questions don't work because the scope is not in the right place. It's too big or it's too small. So sometimes a question falls flat simply on scope, and it's something to think about. Here's my story around that. I was playing a flow game for Earth Day about 2 years ago, and a woman joined from a place that was about 4 hours west of Mumbai. This is a place that has a severe water shortage. They had access to water only 2 hours a day. When she came into the game and we asked her, "What's your question?" she said, this is the question about how do we solve the water issue. And we could tell from the way she said it, she was incredibly impacted and incredibly emotional about this. It was really something big. And so, but we started questioning her, is there anything you can do about this? And she said, no. Okay. Is there anything your building could do about this? The apartment building you live in? No. Is there anything the local government can do about this? No. We kept going down, no, no, no. And we said to her, this is it's a challenge of scope. You're going to be frustrated if you ask this question and there's nothing you can do. Could you change your own relationship with water? And she said, no. So finally, we kind of kept on her a bit. She went very quiet. And then finally she said, oh, I have a question, I think. How do I practice more forgiveness in my life? Wow. That was a big change. That is something she can actually do something about. That will be a dramatic shift for her. And it was an edgy question. So the first thing you need to consider is scope. Is it too big? Is it too small? Who is it actually for? The second thing is assumption. There is an assumption inherent in every question. So you need to look for it and be aligned with it to say, is this okay? Am I okay with this assumption? Just like as a story person, I say there's an assumption in every story. Every story wants something from you. So I often say there are no innocent stories, but there are very innocent storytellers. Every story wants something. It wants you to feel something. It wants to move you. It wants some action, even if it's laugh with me or cry with me or help me figure out what's going on. Questions have an assumption built into them. So here's one I often use. Sounds like a corporate vision statement. How can we be the best lab in the world? That's kind of a common question that organizations over time have asked. How could we shift? Do you see the assumption here? And what is it? Anybody, please, would you unmute yourself and just say, what's the assumption in that question?
That you know what the best lab would look like, or like how that would be measured.
Yep, that's what.
There are better labs and not so better labs.
Yeah, there's a gradation of what's best. Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a best lab?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So there's a really quick way to change the assumption in this question. So part of it is in this little question, in. If I change the word in to for, how can we be the best lab for the world? Then I've dramatically changed what our orientation is. How can we be the best lab in the world? To how can we be the best lab for the world? There's only one change in the sentence, but it makes a dramatic difference in what the orientation is. So if you can find the assumption, I think many of us in the world have said, how do we compete with the Chinese? But what could you do to change that sentence? What is the assumption in the sentence like that? How do we, and you fill in the blank. It could be anybody. How do we compete with that? Fill in the blank. What's the assumption in that question?
That you need to compete.
Yes. That competition is the only way. So the fastest way to change that particular question is to change the verb from compete to cooperate to love to dance. How do we dance with them? It's a totally different assumption than how do we compete with them. So, you know, the tango, I don't dance the tango myself, but at one point in time in my life, I watched a bunch of tango movies. So the tango was originally a protest dance by men in the barrios in Argentina. And it has all of that stuff. We think of it these days as a really passionate kind of dance, you know, but that's not how it started out. Just like geishas were not women to begin with, they were men. So things change over time and they can be multifaceted. How do we make sure that our questions are carrying the kind of focus that we want them to have? The third part here is construction. How do you build the question? If I ask myself, in what ways can we ... then I've said to my brain that there's more than one way. So many of us have been schooled to believe there's only one right answer. In fact, that's an issue on our planet right now because there are many people who believe their answer is the only answer. And usually it's because underneath it, those people are afraid. So they're trying to control things and they're trying to control everybody. We're seeing a lot of that kind of behavior at the moment. This fear of loss or fear of survival or fear of things disappearing that we thought we always had is causing a lot of control mechanism to come into place in this world. We can change that by asking a better question. So how do you construct your question? If you look at all of the question words in the English language, why is the most powerful question word? And that's one reason that every child has been given this one question word as their main one to use. So if you're around a child, they're going, why? But why? But why? They drive their parents crazy. Has anybody been driven crazy by your children? Yep. So it is the most powerful question word that there is, but it's also can be confrontational. So have a look at how do you want to start your question? In what ways can we? How might we? What could we? You know, so these are ways. The least powerful way to form your question is a rhetorical one, meaning the answer is either yes or no. That's the least powerful question and is usually used by people trying to prove they know more or trying to get you to know what they know or something like that. It's not a true question, really. So construction is the other thing that we need to have a look at. So I want to pause for a very brief 1 minute of silence. And Shaluk, I'd like to invite you to time that for us and invite you to craft the question. What is the question that really matters to you? And remember that different shaped questions fit different solutions and situations. So this isn't about having the most clever question. It's sometimes about having the question that fits the situation. And a story from my past is as a student wanting to become part of a conference team and you had to apply to get picked for this. I was sitting in the hallway of a hotel thinking about what am I going to say when I go through the door for my interview. And this woman came by and she asked me, "What are you doing?" Sounds like a very simple question. And then she sat down next to me and we began to talk and I told her why I was sitting there. And then she said, "And so what are you going to say?" And I told her what I was going to say. And then she helped me craft that better. I went into the room and I got the job. Yay. And I never saw her again. I'm sure she was a question angel in disguise. So this question, what are you going to say, sounds very simple, but it was perfectly the right question for that moment. So questions are not about being clever, but about meeting the moment in the best way. So what you're now looking for is this. Make it a personal question. What is the thing that most matters to you right now? It might be about work. It might be about life. It might be about anything. And choose, if you can, the question that makes you tremble, the one that makes you feel like, whoop, this is slightly on the edge. And please remember, perfection is not required. The perfection police are in a conference somewhere off planet, so they aren't paying any attention to us. Perfection is not required because your team, which is all the people in this room, are going to help you craft a sharper question out of the way you start. So would you please take a minute now and write down the question you want to craft and start with. What's your question?
Starting the timer now.
If you have just joined us, then we are crafting a question to take into the Question Cafe. So if you've just come into the room, please, what is your question you want to bring to this work today?
So we've taken about 1.5 minutes so far.
Okay, thank you. So this was a very brief, like, wow, the exercise was so brief, but that's all right. Whatever you've got is fine. Remember, perfection is not required. So we are about to head into what I call the Question Cafe. And that is an opportunity for you to sharpen your question with somebody else. So here's what that is going to look like. The entire room of us today is your consultant team. Who knows who's going to be on your consultant team coming up? In the next couple of minutes, we're going to have 3 opportunities to get input on your question. You're going to be thrown into a breakout room with one other person for 2 minutes. This may be the shortest breakout room you've ever experienced in your life, but it's going to be a good one. Because here's what you're going to do. You're just going to say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm from, and then you're going to speak your question. Nothing else. No story, no explanation, no where this comes from, none of that. Just speak the question. The other person is going to respond with a question, which you're going to write down because they're offering you input into your question. And then you're going to trade roles, which is why you have such a brief time together. This is not about storytelling. It's not about explaining. It's about receiving some intuitive input from the other person in the room. And I would like to demonstrate that. Does anybody have a question? And they would like to play with me just to demonstrate how this works. If so, would you please raise your hand?
Yes, I have one.
Thank you, Jaron. So
Yes.
here's what's going to happen. Wait a second before you say the question. And I see Sarah too, so we could do both of those.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm just preparing to receive this question, and then I'm just going to speak whatever my intuition says. So this is a job of trusting your intuition. I could question part of his question. What my system normally does is it'll do a rephrase and give you the question back. Your job is to write it down because I might not necessarily remember what I just said. Okay, early warning. So Jaron, give me your question.
Good. My question is, how might we elevate the art of facilitation in the world?
What is the next higher purpose for the art of facilitation in the world currently? Okay, so you just write that down.
Yeah.
What's the next higher? So this is just input. So remember, there's two things to know about feedback when somebody gives it to you. You can just take it on board and go, great, or you can duck and let it spatter on the wall behind you. You don't have to take everything you receive, so this is just an opportunity to get some fresh input from the universe in the form of us. Sarah, what's your question?
Thank you.
What would it take for my convening team to feel like they are in community and making a difference?
How do we become family, inviting people to our celebration? So there you go. So this is the kind of thing you could pick up on one word in the question, you could whatever, but just allow your intuition free rein and offer what comes to you. This is not a logical thing. It's not an analytical thing. It is a gift from the inside of you to the inside of somebody else, and they can take it on board or not. Okay. Are we ready to go? Shalaka.
Yeah, how much time in the breakout room for?
So that means they get about a minute and then you got to close the room, right? Because it'll give them a minute
Okay,
to.
all right.
So this is good.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, good energy to Shalaka as the tech host. Most tech hosts freak out when I say what we're going to do. And we're going to do this 3 times. So you're going to have 3 inputs. The moment you get the 3rd input, please, would you look at all the input and start crafting your question? What does it sound like now? Remember, perfection is not required. Okay, are we ready to try this grand experiment? Here we go.
Okay, I'm opening the rooms. Have a great conversation.
Good luck, everyone. Emil, did you get? Nope.
Shweta is unassigned. Okay.
Shweta, are you there?
I have assigned her to one of the rooms.
Anna,
Shweta, can you join room 16?
Anna, are you there? Okay, here's somebody who's just come in. This will need some explanation. Anna, are you there? Two. Okay, they can go together.
Okay, somebody's asked for help. I'll go.
Okay. Hello, Gopi, are you there? And Amika, are you there?
Yes, I am there, madam. Thank you.
Hi. So you've just joined us. What people are doing, they have crafted the question that they want to play with, and they're in a breakout room getting feedback. So can I invite the 2 or 3 of you who are here to craft a question you want to work with for the rest of our session? That might be a personal question, or it might be a work question. It doesn't matter. What question matters the most to you right now? So could you please have a little bit of a think about that, because we have about a minute until we go into the next breakout room.
Sure, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Erica.
Hi there. No one was in my room.
Oh, okay. What's your question?
Where does my power come from?
What is my solid foundation for being a powerful person in this world? Okay, everybody. All coming back now.
We have people coming back from different doors. Some people are leaving the meeting and joining back. Some people are coming straight from the breakout rooms.
Yes.
All right. So I need to separate. Yeah.
Has everybody got that one in?
No.
Here we go with our grand experiment. We're about to go into breakout room number 2 to get the second piece of input on your question. Ah, aha. Ah. Tien, have you been in the conversation so far? Or are you just arriving? Tien, are you there? Arati, are you there? Oh, connecting to audio. Tien, are you just arriving? Or have you been in the conversation already? You are muted at this moment.
I am sorry, my flight delayed for
Okay.
half an hour.
So
I guess
anybody
that
who's
people are in
so
the breakout room.
anybody who's just joined us right now, because very little time, please would you craft a question you want to work with? It might be about work or it might be about you personally, but craft a question. People are in a breakout room getting feedback, and we have one last breakout room left. So please craft a question if you haven't done so far. You're the tech hostess with the mostest. Tanya, nice to see you. Did you just arrive?
I was in a breakout room.
Good. Wonderful. Okay, that was
I have to leave. I have to leave though, but maybe come back later.
Okay. So thank you. That was input number 2. Hopefully you got some good input from the universe in the form of whoever the person was that was there with you. And we're about to go into breakout room number 3. Thank you for being part of this experiment. Shalaka is still breathing. That's a nice thing. She's hanging in there, even though she's like, wow. Okay. Are we ready for the third breakout room?
I've been alone in two breakout rooms.
Yes, so this is your final input into your question. So the final piece of sharpening.
I think we may have lost some people on the way.
All right. You know, this is a kind of. Jamil, did you get an invitation to a breakout room? Yeah. No. Okay.
But I don't see Jamil as being unassigned. Let me just figure out. You would have received an invitation, Jamil, if you can click on the three dots. It might say, oh yeah, you are in room 20, Jamil, Emil, room 20. You are supposed to accept
Okay,
the invitation to join.
thanks. I haven't seen any invitations so far.
It will be somewhere on the bottom of your screen. Three dots. If you click on it, if you see breakout rooms.
Can you assign him? Can you move him there? No.
I'll have to move him back and then move him.
Yeah, otherwise that's okay. Yep, I haven't
Otherwise,
seen anything.
otherwise it gets me as a partner. What's your question? Whoop, no, he went.
Should
Hiyachi?
I?
Have you been in a breakout room or are you just arriving? Stefan, can you hear me? Nope.
He's gone to a breakout room.
The sun is coming up now.
What
Oh,
about Pablo?
Pablo, are you there?
Done.
No.
We are done.
Woo! Everybody went, wow.
This is like a dinner party where you can't really keep a count on the number of guests.
No. It's like the rotating dinner party where you don't know where the guests are going. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody's had some input on some inputs into their question. Would you please take a minute now, look at the input that you've received and say what actually would make a more compelling question right at this moment? So does any of the input you've received help you make a more compelling question? Remember, you're looking for the question that makes you tremble, the one that makes your heart kind of go, whoo, and your stomach go, whoa, that's the one. So have a look right now.
Mary, you mute yourself.
Has everybody had time to sharpen their question? What we're going to ask you to do, I'm going to put this in the chat window right now, is to bring up the flow game dice. So in the chat window, you see a link to the flow game dice. This is a kind of dice that you can click on the button and it will roll to give you the different colors of the flow game. So we're going to invite you to, in a moment, speak your question and then roll the dice, and that will indicate which card you're going to receive. We're trying something totally new right now. So anybody here in the room who's a flow game host will not recognize this. It's a new innovation right in this moment. So please, if you can bring up the flow game dice, in a moment, we're going to roll and see what color you get. But first of all, I want to say something about the directions. First of all, could you, Shalaka, pin Chia for a moment, because she actually has the flow game board hanging up behind her. This is a visual reference. Well, let me try to do that. Let's see, where is she? Pin. There we go. So here's Chia. Hi, Chia. She's one of our flow game hosts. There are a number of flow game hosts in the room, and I'm very grateful that Elaine and Asker, Chia, Natasha, Hari are all in this room, and some other flow game hosts are here as well. This is what the flow game board looks like. So if you were playing with us in person or online in a smaller game, that's what you would see. We're not actually going to use the full board right now. We're only going to use the cards out of the flow game to help you. So just so you can have a picture of what that actually looks like. So I want to show you the 7 directions from the flow game, so you can get an idea. The flow game is going to give you 2 pieces of information immediately when you roll the dice. And one of those is the energy of the direction you roll. The other thing is what's on the other side of the card, which will either be a question or a picture. And so what we're going to do is have our flow game hosts each pick the card for a direction, and all of you who've rolled whatever direction it is are going to have that as your question. So we're trying something new. East, this is the way we start. So north, south, east, and west is the way we find our way around the planet, unless you happen to be an Aboriginal person in Australia and maybe some other places. Aboriginal people follow the song lines, so they're kind of magnetically attuned rather than this kind of directionally attuned like so many of the rest of us. But these are the way we find ourselves around the planet. On they're kind of the vertical line. Or the horizontal line, sorry. And so east is the eagle. This is all about flying higher, therefore getting the bigger picture, the overview. This is about vision. So if you roll an east card, the game is asking you to pay attention to vision, bigger picture, and all of those kind of things that you would get of having an overview. East is dynamically opposed or in tension with west. So west is the bear, and west is about action. How do you take action on something? And you can see that these 2 things are slightly in opposition. Only action, no vision. You could take some action that might hurt people if you don't pay attention. And only vision and no action, nothing ever happens. So right in the middle of east-west is sitting, maybe you can visualize to yourself a bulldozer. A bulldozer can create a new road, or it can knock down a house. And right at this moment on the planet, it's probably doing both of those things. So what's the balance of these 2? East, vision, bigger picture, overview. West is about action. North, south is interesting too. South, where the mouse is, that's about community, about relationship, about all my relations. So that's about being part of the group, which is lovely. But in order for anything to happen, north also has to be there. North is about leadership and the courage to take new leadership, taking your own path. So you can see the interesting thing of everybody wants to belong in community, and you need community to make things happen. But if nobody ever steps out of the circle, then nothing new ever happens either. On the other hand, if you run so fast that nobody can follow you, is it leadership? So there's the dynamic tension, north and south. Heaven and earth are kind of vertical, and earth, that's about foundation. What's your ground? What is your fundament? People might say, what do you base things on? So what is the ground that you need to have? And heaven is about higher aspiration. What's bigger than you? What are you really in service of? Okay. So that's what each of the directions means. And on the other side of the card, either you get a question or you're going to get a picture to have something to be in tension with on your question. So would you please mute yourself for a moment, speak your question out loud, whatever it sounds like now, and roll the dice so that you know which direction you are choosing.
What does supporting myself look or feel like
Yes,
as I
mute,
embrace
so
it?
mute yourself. Please mute yourself so that nobody else is hearing you because they're all speaking their question at the same time. Thank you. Although that was lovely. All right, so have you rolled the dice? You will see a color come up on the screen. There's one that's white, there's one that's black, red, blue, yellow, and green. Right, so you've got one of those. All right, so for everybody who's rolled a blue card, Elaine is now going to choose the card for you that you're going to be referencing in your small group conversation. Elaine, can you just put your hand up so that we can pin you? Elaine, can you put your
Can you
hand up?
see me? Yeah.
There you are. Okay, and you wanna, she's choosing the card, that's it?
Yeah. This is the card.
So you need to hold it directly in front of yourself, otherwise we can't see it because you've got no, okay.
Yeah, I will put the question on the chat box.
Please, will you speak it?
When will I follow the ego? Long-term call in me. East.
The eagle long-term call in me, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for everybody who has the east or rolled the east, this is what you're going to take into your chat. Would you please make a note of it? Okay. Righty-ho. Next, we're going to south. That's Asker. So we're going to remove that pen. He's going to draw the south.
I'm not getting the reference of the colors to the directions. I mean, yellow or orange, we just have a color, right?
Anybody who's rolled blue, that's an east card. So this is the question you're going to take in.
Okay.
Here's the south card.
Who are the members of your core team? Who are the members of your core team? Yellow, south.
Fabulous. Thank you. So anybody who's rolled yellow, this is your question you're taking into the conversation. Now we have Chia. She's going to be drawing the west card. That's for anybody who's rolled green. This is yours. It is the rest.
It is the rest between the notes that makes the music. Where do you need to pause? It is the rest between the notes that makes the music. Where do you need to pause?
Thank you. So that's in the chat window now too. North is Natasha.
I'm over here, north. And the question is,
oh, you're upside down.
Upside down.
What is your unique leadership? Ask the others for their intuition. What is your unique leadership? Ask the others for their intuition.
Okay, so anybody who's rolled red, this is your question. Hari, we have earth.
Hari, can you please put up your hand?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I found you. Okay.
What are you able to hear When are you able to hear what nature is whispering to you?
When are you able to hear?
When are you able to hear what the nature is whispering to you?
So anybody who's rolled black, this is your question. And the final one is going to be heaven. And that is me. Ooh, I pinned myself. Here's the heaven deck. And it says, what is heaven inviting from you? What is heaven inviting from you? Ooh, not form, from you, question. So anyone who has rolled a white card, this is your question. So in the chat window, you can see all of the questions depending on the color you rolled. Please take that question. Your job is to say, okay, here was my original question. Here's what the flow game offered me. What's that saying to me? What's rising in me as a result of hearing this question from the flow game to the question that I'm holding? So we're about to invite you into a breakout room to be wisdom council with each other. So what does that look like? Here we go. We want to invite you to be wisdom council for each other. So this is the invitation. Please listen deeply. Don't give any advice. So you woulda, shoulda, coulda, none of that. This is about intuition, and we've already practiced intuition responding to people's questions. So you're listening for the inner voice. What's rising in you? And you know, that sounds a bit like this. I don't know what I should say this, but ...
Hello. Quality.
So, thank you. Listen for your inner voice and to give wisdom counsel to the person. Speak only if you have something that serves. Not everybody has to speak. So please could it be like this? Whoever is going first, speak your question, say what the flow game has given you and respond first. And then say, I'd really like some wisdom counsel. And invite the other two to give you some wisdom counsel. That is speaking from their intuition. And we're going to have, I think, at least, let's have 15 minutes in our breakouts of 3. We got our breakout rooms ready to go. So
Yeah, there could be 3 or 4 people in the room.
Fabulous.
Okay, I'm ready to open the rooms if everyone is ready. Okay, great.
Oh my goodness.
People are still going. Okay.
No, we only have one
Only
left.
Elaine.
Elaine, are you there? Miss Elaine. Thank you for all your work in the background. This is not the easiest check hosting job. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we were 99 in the room when I opened the rooms. So we would have lost about 15 people. No, I think at the peak we had about 124.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What have the other sessions been doing? Have they gotten good uptake?
Different numbers.
About how I'd love to hear from 2 or 3 of you about how your question traveled. You know, what did you start with? What happened when you got some sharpening with the universal representative, whoever that was? And what happened in your wisdom council? So would there be one or two people be willing to share what happened for you? If so, please raise your hand so we can see where you. Or anyone else that wants to speak about, what you're learning around powerful questions. So, Mariam, just pin you. Please.
I can share. Hi, I'm Adilene, and so the learning for me was one, I've never played the flow game before, so it was really, I feel like cool doesn't do it justice, but it was such a gift to see the way that the flow game question transformed my question, but then to bring it to the council, and have them hold the question and then give their insights was a really beautiful process. And I personally took a lot from the way that they held my question and the insights they offered, but also to be able to hold space for someone else and do the same without feeling like someone has to be right. It's just an offering, I thought was a beautiful process. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Racha.
Hi. Yeah, I thought it was really wonderful. I love the inputs that I got from the three members. Like, I feel like my question changed from being like a kind of a victim question. It was like about how can I'll tell you the question. What are the ways in which I can support myself through this period of transition or change? And then with the input, it became like, what does supporting myself feel like when I embrace this period of change? So it became a more empowering kind of question. And then the dice that I rolled was yellow. So it was about who are the members of your core team. So then in the council, like the word that came up was resource, So how and what are the resources that I can find to support myself or be supported by people as well, and then create that conditions for embracing the change. So yeah, it was really fascinating and fantastic. Thank you.
So we have Le.
Yes, hello, thank you. I wanted to share a few words about the process, and just to say that a powerful question is very helpful, but a powerful question is even more powerful with the intuition of people around. And I noticed how kind of confused I was when we began to speak in our subgroups, and how in a few seconds the light came up, and how my question resonated into others' words, even if our feet don't touch the ground in the same place. And so thank you for that, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have Agnello.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think it was actually amazing, very, very insightful to be there with three beautiful ladies, and getting insights, number one, from them. But I think more than that, it was learning about their insights as well from their questions, and how the compass, the energy moved for them, and the kind of questions they put up. So thought came to my mind. It's not about asking the questions, it's about asking the right questions. And I love the way you've taken us through the fourfold practice and kept us at the hosting community. Be part of the hosting community and gain wisdom. It's not just you alone, and it's the Wisdom Council that really contributes a lot. So thank you very much once again.
And thank you all. We need to close now, Sung. So I hope you don't mind. You could stay on and let me know what that is after we let everybody else go.
No, it's
But
just chat. Put in the chat box.
or put it in the chat. Yeah. So thank you all for your participation. I want to pick up a few things that the people said. I think wisdom council is so important right now. The practice of wisdom council and inviting people to really go back to their intuition. I mean, what is common sense? People often say common sense is not common practice, but what is common sense actually? It's the human ability to tap into our intuition. That one that says, really, you should take the umbrella today. I know every time that little voice has come in my mind and I didn't do it, I was sorry afterwards, and that little voice says to me things like, you should call so-and-so, or what about that? That is the kind of thing we need to remember to listen to. We have become so outwardly focused, especially with social media, that we forget that the reference actually needs to be in here. And to learn how to do that together is something that's a powerful human capacity we need to reclaim. And that starts with asking a good question. Thank you so much for your input and time here. I want to make you 3 invitations. The first is that maybe you want to play a full flow game and choose your own card. Wow, what a concept. So there's a bit of a link. You could play a flow game with me, and you could reach any of the flow game hosts through flowgame.net and play with anybody. And there's a number of other flow game hosts in this room. So I want to say thank you to our little team of Elaine, Oscar, Chia, Natasha, and Patty for being here and being flexible with what we had first decided to do and what we ended up doing. Please stay in the room so we can do a little debrief with each other. Tomorrow, I'm doing the origin story of the Collective Story Harvest, which is a story methodology that's part of the art of hosting. If you want to join me for that story, please do. And on the 28th of February, the Art of Hosting community is offering a global conversation around the question, what does hosting conversations that matter mean in times like these? And that's a free thing. We would love you to be there and be part of the conversation. The link for that's in the chat window. Thank you so much. I especially want to thank Shalaka for doing what we call make like a duck. She looked very calm on the surface and was paddling like hell underneath. Thank you so much for Jack hosting today. And thank you, all of you. So lovely to see you, especially those I've just seen in Hong Kong. Nice to see you again. Mark Levy, long time. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the facilitation week. For those who are not aware, we have a whole set of sessions happening which are all available for your review on the Facilitation Week website. I will just put the link to that here in the chat for you. So if any other session calls you and if it is open for all, please feel free to join. Thank you so much, Mary Alice. As usual, every session that I contribute and participate with you is a great insight and a great learning journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you for your
Thank you for
intuition.
joining us. See you.
Bye.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Shalaka.